please subscribe and don't forget to press the bell icon to get notified whenever we upload a new video.
Despite the best possible efforts by our team of doctors and nurses to resuscitate him, he failed to respond. We profoundly mourn the loss of one of the tallest leaders of India, and we share the grief of family members and fellow Tamilians worldwide. Signed by Dr. Aravindan Selvaraj, Executive Director at the Kauvery Hospital. This is the press release that has just come out. It's timed 6:40 p.m. Once again, I'm just reading from the press release by the Kauvery Hospital announcing the death of Kalaignar M Karunanidhi. With deep anguish, we announce the demise of our beloved Kalaignar M Dr. Karunanidhi on 7th of August 2018 at 6:10 p.m. Despite the best possible efforts by our team of doctors and nurses to resuscitate him, he failed to respond. We profoundly mourn the loss of one of the tallest leaders of India, and we share the grief of family members and fellow Tamilians worldwide. So this is what tens of thousands of DMK Cadre, his family members, supporters had all been expecting. But finally, the announcement has come just moments ago. The time of death is 6:10 p.m. And the Kauvery Hospital doctors saying that despite their best possible efforts to try and resuscitate him, he failed to respond. This is truly the end of an era in Tamil Nadu and in Dravidian politics.
Absolutely. Karunanidhi passing away at the age of 94 at 6:10 this evening from 1924 to 2018. Purnima Murali continues to be with us from outside the hospital. Purnima, just describe the scenes around you. Purnima, can you hear me? All right, it's going to be difficult to get in touch with Purnima because the crowds have simply been increasing over the last couple of hours ever since that last medical bulletin came which declared that Karunanidhi was deteriorating fast. He was extremely critical and unstable. His organs had slowly stopped responding. That was the last medical bulletin, and of course it's the latest one coming in confirming that Karunanidhi is now no more. The crowds had been gathering there, of course hoping against hope, against the inevitable, but it has now come. We'd seen massive presence of his supporters, his well-wishers who had been stationed there. I wonder if Zaka Jacob is still with us from the newsroom. We'll try and get to one of our reporters. But this is something that we've been talking about. It's been an eventuality that we have been talking about, going by the indicators that had come in from the doctors, especially in the last medical bulletin, that tragic news now being confirmed of the DMK chief Karunanidhi passing away today. What happens next, of course, as far as the politics in the state is concerned, remains to be seen. We're, of course, waiting for more political reactions to come in. I think Zaka Jacob is back with us. Zaka, it's going to be a chaotic scene outside. We've been trying to get in touch with Purnima, and that really goes to show the kind of mass appeal Karunanidhi had, the kind of crowds that had gathered there, which is really going to be a challenge as well now.
Yeah, I think there must be well over 1,000 people outside the Kauvery Hospital, but I suspect now there will be much more. What we are hearing is that his body will now be taken from the Kauvery Hospital to to his residence in Gopalapuram, where it will be kept for immediate family members as well as close associates and friends and party leaders, people who've known him for the last 40, 50 years, people who've been in the DMK and fellow travelers in the DMK and in Tamil Nadu politics for the last many decades. They will get an opportunity to pay their last respects at his Gopalapuram residence, and subsequently either sometime later tonight or perhaps early tomorrow morning, it will be taken to the Rajaji Hall where it will be kept. The body will be kept for public viewing. And what we are hearing is that by 4 o'clock tomorrow, he will be taken to the Marina, and he will be buried along with some of the other legends and stalwarts of Tamil Nadu politics, including the likes of C.N. Annadurai, Dr. MGR, Dr. Jayalalitha, and of course Kalaignar Karunanidhi as well. So in a sense, it is really the end of an era in Tamil Nadu and in Dravidian politics. He was one of the founder members of the DMK, the youngest chief minister of Tamil Nadu, was chief minister way back in 1969, the most multiple term chief minister. And, like your guests have been saying over the last few hours, he also played a very important role in national politics because, remember, he was part of every coalition government right from the VP Singh days up until 2014. So the DMK has been an active component of every coalition government, including in NDA 1 when Vajpayee was Prime Minister, as well as in both UPA 1 and UPA 2. So clearly he had a national imprint as well, no doubt about it. So this will be a huge loss. What we are hearing is that Prime Minister Modi is likely to go there tomorrow. I suspect so will Rahul Gandhi. Remember, the DMK has and continues to be an ally of the Congress party. So I suspect all national leaders will be making their way to Chennai to pay their last respects to arguably one of the tallest leaders in the history of Tamil Nadu and in Dravidian politics.
Absolutely, and that's been the consensus with whoever we've spoken to, senior journalists, political analysts as well, unparalleled stature that M Karunanidhi really enjoyed. We have my colleague Purnima back with us. Purnima, if you can hear me, I know it would be very chaotic on the ground there, but could you just describe to us the scenes you're seeing around the hospital?
Well, Arnanda, you can see how emotions are running high, especially after the official announcement came in at 6:40 p.m. saying that Karunanidhi is no more. And you can see, especially the supporters, the women supporters of the DMK, in fact, emotionally breaking down and also saying that this is something that they did not expect. They thought that their beloved leader will fight like the way he has done over the last 2 years, ever since he has not been keeping well and has been inactive in politics. And they are saying that they thought he would fight back, but they are not able to digest the fact that their leader is no more. Clearly, emotions running high, especially the women supporters of the DMK, clearly breaking down. You can see the visuals on our screen. Hundreds of people here are still not able to digest the news that they received just 10 minutes ago. Arunadai.
Have we heard anything from the family yet, Purnima? Any announcements being made? There have been visitors pouring in over the last couple of hours, many of them breaking down, family members as well.
Well, Arunadai, so one of the daughters of Karunanidhi, Selvi, was continuously weeping when she left Kauvery Hospital and she went to Gopalapuram residence, but we've not spotted the other family members. Khushbu, who was here, the Congress spokesperson, also was with the DMK before that. She too was weeping when she left Kauvery Hospital. So emotions were running high over the last at least 15 minutes, especially when he was very critical, and you can see the support that's pouring in, but family members still not spotted. Most of the senior leaders of the DMK are still inside the Kauvery Hospital, and we will have to wait for MK Stalin, the working president, to see if he will be addressing the media and the public who are not really able to buy the statement from Kauvery Hospital just yet. But clearly emotions running high. One of the daughters, Selvi, was weeping. But yes, preparations are underway. What we are given to understand is Zaka was pointing out that he will be taken to Gopalapuram residence. Inspection at Rajaji Hall, where Jayalalitha's mortal remains were displayed for public. That will be the spot, the venue that the DMK is also looking forward to, and they have sought permission from the state government for laying Karunanidhi to rest at Anna Samadhi, but we'll have to wait and see if they have been given permission or not. But first, the mortal remains will be taken to Gopalapuram residence, and then police officials have already inspected Rajaji Hall. So that's the next venue where his mortal remains will be taken to. But these are preliminary information that we have gathered. We will have to wait for more clarity in terms of whether the state government has given permission for both the Rajaji Hall and Anna Samadhi, which in the next 1 hour things will be more clear in terms of what are the arrangements that are made, and if the state government has given permission for Karunanidhi's mortal remains to be laid to rest at Anna Samadhi. Back to you.
Right. Purnima, Bhupendra here. And I can well imagine that emotions must be running very, very high all around the hospital where the Kalaignar has just breathed his last. It's obviously been a very tough time, not just for the family members of the departed leader, but also for all the friends, the well-wishers, the cadres. In fact, today in Parliament, I was asking this question to a lot of people in the Central Hall in Parliament in terms of how they would like to remember Karunanidhi and what would be the lasting legacy of Karunanidhi. So many of them pointed out that Karunanidhi would go down as an individual who was without doubt the foremost intellectual giant within the political ecosystem of Tamil Nadu. And while he and Jayalalitha did have a very, very intense rivalry of sorts, and Jayalalitha also passing away a few months back, and now Karunanidhi passing away as well, it really means the end of an era. For someone who held the office of the Chief Minister for 5 times, became Chief Minister first at the age of 45, then again became Chief Minister when he was 47, then at the age of 65, then at the age of 72, and finally in 2006, when many thought that he was in the twilight of his political career, he became Chief Minister again at the age of 82. Lots of condolence messages coming. Prime Minister Modi has expressed his deepest condolences. The President has also just expressed his condolences. Sad to learn of the passing of Thiruvar Karunanidhi, a doyen of our public life. Narendra Modi saying, I've had the opportunity of interacting with Karunanidhi on several occasions. His understanding of policy and emphasis on social impact was second to none. He says his thoughts are with the family and countless supporters of Karunanidhi in this hour of grief. India and particularly Tamil Nadu certainly have been bereaved today of someone who was a very, very giant soul. If I look at the political ecosystem and I start looking at all the political doyens all around us, whether it was the state of Maharashtra a couple of years back when Balasaheb Thackeray passed away, who also contributed a lot in rather contentious ways, one would argue, about the politics which the state of Maharashtra got associated with. And I look at Jayalalitha, I look at Karunanidhi. It's very clear that people who practiced a certain kind of politics, people who practiced a politics which was completely revolving only and only around their own individual personas, that era seems to be coming to an end. Just look at those pictures on the right side, DMK workers, the person who's driving in, I can see tears rolling down the cheeks of that individual. And you will see many more pictures. You will see many more pictures. Kalaignar, someone who actually came from a very, very humble background, came from very modest family, hit it big time as a poet, as a writer, as a creative powerhouse of sorts, and pretty much post Annadurai was a part of that legacy, of that club, of that league of politicians in Tamil Nadu who came from the creative streak, came from the creative sides, and then went on to occupy the highest positions, the topmost positions within the political ecosystem. So Karunanidhi will certainly go in history from that angle. The charismatic MG Ramachandran, after his demise, there are few like Karunanidhi, like Jayalalitha, who could perhaps command the kind of respect that they had. Former Union Minister and Senior Congress leader Veerappa Moily is joining us live on the phone line. Mr. Moily, thanks very much for joining us. Your thoughts, sir, on Karunanidhi. You worked with him in the past. He was your ally. How would you remember Karunanidhi today, sir?
You know, he was the greatest champion of backward classes, downtrodden. And, you know, he was the greatest administrator. I have seen him personally, and I know him personally, and quite a warm-hearted person. And, you know, I was in charge of, from AACC, I was in charge of Tamil Nadu for about 3 or 4 years. At that time, I had very closest relationship with him, both personally and from the political point of view. And I must tell you that, you know, he was such a warm-hearted person, you know, and it was great to work with Karunanidhi ji. And at that time, the Congress party got the highest number of parliament seats in the alliance partnership, and also largest number of assembly seats. So he is a great man. I think we have now lost, you know, the tallest leader of the country. You know,
you've had the unique opportunity of having worked both with Jayalalitha as well as Karunanidhi in the past. If I was to ask you to draw a comparison now, since both these formidable leaders, these tycoons, political tycoons, would be perhaps the apt phrase to describe them, since both of them now are no more? If I was to ask you to draw a comparison between the two of them, how would you compare them,
I don't want to take a comparison, but this man has an outstanding public service to his credit, and an outstanding service to the longest service to Tamil Nadu, and this development, every development program, and the industrialization or maybe other development, name of Karunanidhi ji can be carved out in golden letter.
Would it be fair to say?
I don't think, on development, on social justice, on secularism, I don't think, there is any other comparison to, particularly from Tamil Nadu to Karunanidhi.
I think that's a good point, and that's the point that I wanted to ask you. That so much has been written and so much has been spoken about his contribution to the Dravidian movement, his contribution to conversion of Tamil Nadu as a welfare state. The ability of a state administration to contribute immensely to creating a large welfare-based ecosystem. And later on, in the later years of the DMK rule, many thought that had been converted into electoral populism. But do you think that would go down as a lasting legacy of Karunanidhi to create that welfare-based state?
You may recall that, the Dravidian movement in South India, more particularly in Tamil Nadu, he is one of the main champion, and he was a real thought leader, for the cause of the backward classes in Tamil Nadu. In fact, he joined along with Ramaswamy Naikar, and he was really the tallest person to assist him to, and if the Tamil Nadu has nurtured that kind of a ethos of backward classes, ethos of the social justice, I think the thought process and also the administration, and he is responsible.
Look at where he came from, Moiliji. Came from a very humble, modest background, created the DMK, which got converted into this massive cadre-based party. Talk us through his contribution to the creation of the DMK as a cadre-based party from very humble background that he came from.
Yeah, he hails from not from a dominant community or a majority community. He hails from a minority community, and the downtrodden community. That person from the most humble position. He not only through administration but also through his many story writing for the films. He created that kind of a backward class ethos, which went into the real veins of the electorate of Tamil Nadu, and I think it's a rarest occasion when any leader could work on this and create that kind of a ethos in politics and also in cinema. And most talented person I know very well. He's a very good writer, very good journalist, and who really influenced the psyche of Tamil Nadu electorate.
Now, Moili Saab, you were a union minister, sir, at the time when the UPA was in power, and when he was your critical ally, and the stories of 2G scams are all hitting headlines, and Karunanidhi was really in the line of fire. His family members ended up going to jail. His daughter was in jail. A. Raja had to go to jail. Questions were being raised about his wife. How was he responding during that moment of crisis? Any insight that you have? Was he hurt? Was he sad? Or did he still maintain his calm and composure?
But, despite the stress and the strain and also the turbulence of politics, particularly 2G and other came, he stood alert, and he knew that, he is fighting for a cause. He is right and he is just. And, that is how, the never lost the composure. And even though, he suffered a lot, personally and also politically, but he knew that, he will again emerge. Today, he has built the party, because I don't think, in the history of any political party, there can be any comparison of a cadre building like DMK.
Okay. All right. Moiliji, thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining us and sharing your thoughts on this day. I think Mr. Moili is absolutely right that what we're seeing unfold before us today is really the end of an era. The kind of politics, the kind of ecosystem that Karunanidhi got associated with, what he saw. Many people who I speak to explain to me that Karunanidhi was an individual who played various roles at various points of time. He could be an observer, he could be a participant, he could be an executor of various political paradigms which would unfold in front of him. Associate editor of The Hindu, Mr. Lakshman, is also joining us on the phone line. Thanks very much sir, for joining us. Let me first begin by asking you to throw some insight about Mr. Karunanidhi, your lasting recollection of what Karunanidhi really stood for and what he meant for the people of Tamil Nadu.
Well, that's a great question. I mean, he stood fundamentally for all the entire ethos of the Dravidian movement, and in that sense reflected a great sense of Tamil pride and Tamil culture as well, because let's not forget that his origins are in the film industry as a scriptwriter. And however, he very quickly rose from capturing the language of Tamil nationalism and Tamil ethnic sentiments. Through his brilliant oratory, he rose into politics. And very quickly, leaders such as Patriarch and Annadurai, who were helming the DMK, recognized his potential as a brilliant organizer as well. And he inevitably rose to the top of that party. And as they say, the rest is history. Since about 1969, when he ascended to the highest rungs of the party, he steered it so ably through multiple crises, the breakaway of the MGR group, the departure of Vaiko, multiple electoral losses, not to mention against his former rival J. Jayalalitha. He recovered from all that. He kept the party at the forefront, and all throughout he never lost that feeling of being the champion of the Tamil people. And even though the very movement itself changed shape and took on new meaning, it shifted from a far more radical form of the 50s and 60s into a much more accommodating form of the 80s, 90s and beyond. He never lost the core element of that movement. And I think for that, the people of Tamil Nadu, whichever party they support, will come together in a moment of profound grief to mourn the passing of what I would definitely say a person who is the titan of this movement.
Can I just ask you to hold on for a moment, because another important newsmaker joining us, Najma Heptullah, senior leader, senior politician and the present governor joining us live. Najma ji, thank you for joining us. Najma ji, how would you look at what has happened today? Your thoughts on the passing away of Karunanidhi ji?
Well, the one who is born go back from where it came. But people like Karunanidhi always live, their memory will always live. He was one of the most iconic leader of the sentiments of the people of South, especially of Tamil Nadu and the South. And we all will remember him with his policies, with his legacy. I had a chance to meet him many times, and I found him a very straightforward, very thoughtful person. And whatever discussion I ever had with him, I was very impressed by his vision. My sympathies are with his family, especially Kanimoji, who is a very, very good friend of mine. I wish I was with her at this time. I may not be physically with her, but mentally I am with her in the
Najma ji, I must ask you, the much touted and the much talked about 2G scam, which really became the identity for the DMK right from 2008 till 2014, and now that the courts have simply said that there was no such scam. Do you believe somewhere along the line your party, which went out of its way to target Karunanidhi and his party, the DMK, do you believe somewhere along the line did it sour the relationship between the BJP and the DMK?
I am now, I'm no more in politics, and I will not speak on political issues. Secondly,
okay, Najma ji, I'll have to hold you there. I understand Kamala Hassan, well-known star and politician, now is speaking now on Karunanidhi ji.
Pronunciation. The language we used was Mr. Karunanidhi's. The voice we imitated was Mr. Shivaji Ganesan, and our vocabulary came from Kannadasan. So these were three Tamil teachers who taught many actors and Tamilians Tamil. And the third teacher, and probably the topmost teacher, is no more with us. And apart from that, this is the field that I belong to, and I've just walked into politics. And this is a long, illustrious career. He's permeated Tamil Nadu politics for nearly 70 years and more. And he came in when he was 19. And many generations know him for various reasons. I'm one who's seen him before he was a leader. I was a boy. I didn't understand what the movement was all about. And then we became part of that movement. And these are men of the hour. And it is not an accident. It was a call by the Tamilians to make them leaders. And he has done the bit for Tamilians. We salute him.
आप कह रहे हैं वो आपके एक तरह से गुरु रहे हैं फिल्म्स में, प्रोनाउंसिएशन में. पॉलिटिक्स में भी आप उन्हीं की तर्ज पर चलेंगे?
No, politics nobody is infallible. So his mistakes are also my lessons. His achievements are also my lessons.
कौन सी ऐसी मिस्टेक्स हैं जो आप नहीं रिपीट करना चाहेंगे?
The beginning of the DMK party itself, the ascension, the way they faced the odds when there was a strong hegemony like Congress, which had a background of the independence struggle, Gandhiji, everything was going for them. In spite of it, a regional party rose with very little to back them except the tool they had in their hand, cinema. And they used it to the fullest, and probably they were the first in the world to use it so prominently. America and Germany tried it, but this was most effectively done by this party, a regional party, but they managed to do it.
आपने जब से पार्टी बनाई है, एक तो मैं पूरे नॉर्थ इंडिया के लिए आपसे आपकी पार्टी के नाम की प्रोनाउंसिएशन जानना चाहूंगा.
Makkal Nidhi Mayam. You don't have to stress the Nidhi as Nidhi. Makkal Nidhi Mayam is a People's Center for Justice.
जैसे जस्टिस पार्टी थी ब्रिटिश राज में, एक जस्टिस पार्टी से शुरू हुआ था सफर ब्रिटिश.
Yes, as a matter of fact, the root of DMK and
So the tributes of course will continue, and we will get you more and more reactions. This is without doubt, and we've seen this in Tamil Nadu. There is a certain political connect, there is a certain emotional bond which people of the state seem to have with their politicians. Perhaps you don't have that kind of a connect when you look at other states, maybe western parts of India or eastern parts of India, or certainly in the Hindi heartland. But we've seen this in Tamil Nadu. It's a completely different story. Mr. Lakshman is still there. Lakshman, I just wanted to talk us through a bit about that, because the scenes that we are seeing right now, pretty much the scenes when Jayalalitha passed away, this emotional bond that people of Tamil Nadu seem to have, the great reverence. Usually in India, what we have is a scenario where people are always very upset with politicians, certainly with chief ministers. It's a typical thing to say, politicians have not done anything. What is it that sets Tamil Nadu apart from the rest of India when it comes to this connect that people seem to have between one leader and the masses?
That's an excellent question, and PhDs have been written about this. But basically, it has to do, again, with what happened in the 1950s and 60s. Where these leaders very astutely used film and cinema as a medium of communicating their political message. And therein, they communicated not just purely about politics, but about something very fundamental and ethnic Tamil in a sense, which made an enormous difference to the politics of the state and of the country as well at that point.
Can I just ask you to hold on for a moment, Lakshman, because we got Tiruchi Siva, Rajya Sabha MP of the DMK, who's joining us live on the phone line. Mr. Siva, thanks for joining us. I can understand it must be a very tough moment for you, but can you just tell us exactly how this loss is being perceived by Cadre, by supporters of the DMK itself? Are you there? Are you there in the hospital right now?
We don't have words to express. We have lost our greatest leader, the tallest leader in the country. He was more than our parents too. He only brought us all as a. He has identified too many number of people. The fighters, since his boyhood onwards till the last day. All his achievements could never be paralleled by any. The future is bleak. to the whole of Tamil Nadu and to us. We are in extreme grief. We do not know how we are going to take it up.
When was the last time, Mr. Siva, if I was to ask you, when was the last time you actually met him, when you had a conversation with him?
Oh, it was long back, 7 months before I saw him. He was just shaking and shaking. At that time, I was not able to speak, but he showed his affection. He had a very good grief.
Did he ever mention what is it that was troubling him, or what is it? What was the lasting thought that he had? Okay, I can imagine that it must be a very, very emotionally turbulent time for Mr. Siva, and therefore difficult for people, and that's the point that we were trying to figure out with Lakshman, this emotional connect which people certainly have with political leaders, with political stalwarts, like what we're seeing in Tamil Nadu. Lakshman, you were going at, and I think that Mr. Siva is only re-emphasizing that point, magnifying that point even more, that it's difficult for people to even speak. Such is this immense sense of emotional, personal loss. Why? What explains this sense of deep emotional connect with leaders in Tamil Nadu?
Absolutely. If you notice his words, he said the future was bleak. Not only, he was not actually talking about the DMK at all, but he said for Tamil Nadu. And exactly in that, you can see the absolute depth of sorrow and a sense of grief, utter grief that has gripped the people. And like I said earlier, I do believe that it transcends party lines, because this was a movement. Yes, the movement certainly splintered at one point into the AIADMK when MGR took to the helm of that. And since then, of course, there has been the bitter rivalry. But even through that rivalry, as you saw in the presence of the Chief Minister and the Deputy Chief Minister today at the hospital, there has been a sense of these are the parties that represent Tamil ethnic sentiment, and certainly it was had a far more radical form in the early decades, and that turned into a more accommodative, inclusive form in the 80s, 90s, and beyond. Okay. But nevertheless, it continues to be a very unique political representation.
May I just ask you to hold on for a moment again, Lakshman? May I just ask you to hold on for a moment again, because Yashwant Sinha, another political veteran, joining us on the phone line. Yashwantji, your thoughts? Where does this leave the Dravidian movement in Tamil Nadu now with the passing away of Mr. Karunanidhi, Yashwantji?
Well, my first reaction is that a giant of the movement has departed, but he has a very able son who I'm sure will take the reins in his hands and guide it forward successfully. And having said that, I'd like to add that I have very pleasant memories of my dealings with the leader, Karunanidhi ji. And the last time I met him was only about a couple of months ago. And he was a giant who, he was a colossus who stood the scene for decades. And his death is a great blow to the public life of the whole country, not only Tamil Nadu.
I couldn't agree more with you, sir. Because the more I'm thinking of where he came from, born as Dakshinamurthy in Tirukola in 1924, from the minority Vellalar community, which used to produce a number of Nadaswaram players, and to what he managed to achieve. He was also looked at as a builder of alliances, as an architect of various alliances. Do you believe now, with Jayalalitha gone and him gone, that certain era of political leaders who could have dealt with various political ideologies, do you believe that era comes to an end today?
No, that certainly comes to an end. That generation of leadership is gone now. And it only proves that things change with time. So things are changing with time. He lived a full life. He made his contribution, as I said, to the public life of this country, and is now gone.
Any lasting memories, sir, you have of your last meeting with him, whenever that may have taken place?
No, as far as I was concerned, I wouldn't claim that I was very close to him, but whenever in government or outside, whenever I sought a meeting with him, that meeting was immediately granted. I remember that when we lost power in 2004, I had gone on a visit to Chennai and I asked for time to see him, and he readily granted that time, and we had a very, very interesting discussion with him in that meeting. And recently, as I said 2 months ago when I was in Chennai, I again sought a meeting with him. He was not exactly in the pink of health, but he still agreed to meet with me. And his family was there, Stalin was there, and we were very happy to meet with him. You know, I could see that he recognized who I was and smiled at me and said a few words. So those are the memories which will remain in my mind about him.
Talk us through that period between 2004 and 2006, sir. In 2004, the BJP, when he was an ally of the NDA and you decided to move away from the DMK, switch sides, did Karunanidhi hold that against the BJP?
No, BJP paid the price for moving away from him. And this is what I was telling you, that when I met him after 2004, then, from my conversation with him, I realized that the mistake was more on our part than on his part.
Okay.
And, we not only lost the election, perhaps we lost all chances of forming a government in 2004.
All right.
Because of the fact that we had broken that alliance with DMK.
Okay, Mr. Sinha, thank you so much for joining us. Another important newsmaker joining us, M Karunanidhi, Culture Minister of Tamil Nadu. Thanks very much, Mr. Karunanidhi, for joining us. Your first thoughts, your first reaction to the passing away of a legend.
We offer our deepest condolences to the great son of the mother Tamil. His contribution to Tamil language, literature, the entire evolution of Tamil language is unparalleled. And 50 years of heading, he has been an anchor around which Tamil politics has revolved over the last 6 decades, really speaking. He's been a great legislator. His contributions in the assembly are there as record for everybody to see for posterity. I think he's been making a seminal contribution to evolution of the Dravidian movement in Tamil Nadu, and he's been a very dignified opponent to people like us, AIADMK, to both MGR and Amma, both of whom had very dignified competition in the last many, many decades.
Okay, Mr. Pandirajan, let me...
He has maintained a certain dignity in politics.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that. The dignity of politics is being maintained. And I'm hoping that that's a tradition which will be carried over to the next generation of political leadership in the state of Tamil Nadu as well. Farooq Abdullah of the National Conference joining us live. Dr. Abdullah, how would you respond to what has happened today? Passing away of Karunanidhi, all kinds of words being used to describe him. How would you describe him today, sir?
I'll describe him as a great soldier of India. He fought for Indian democracy, even in his own state. He believed in federal structure and fought for federal structure. And the fight in that state was always, very calm. It wasn't a fight where people would throw each other into jails and do all sorts of illegal things. He fought his opponents well. And I think he fought for Tamil rights, which was one of the great things that he did. And I just hope that his children who will replace him now, Stalin, for instance, should keep that legacy going and should fight not only for Tamil rights, but for the rights of every Indian as a federal structure. I hope he does that. I hope he will carry that torch all his life.
Yeah, Dr. Abdullah, I was asking this question to a lot of top politicians who've been joining us. So let me put this question to you too, sir. There was Jayalalitha, former chief minister, who passed away a few months back. Now Karunanidhi ji passing away. Do you believe all these people who had that unique ability of dealing with contradictory political ideologies? I mean, here is Karunanidhi, one of the founding fathers, so to say, of the Dravidian movement. Look at where he brought the DMK and look at the kind of parties that he dealt with. Do you believe that era now firmly comes to an end with the passing away of these two legends?
You see, there is no doubt. You cannot replace these leaders, whether it was Sheikh Abdullah, whether it was Nehru, whether it was Gandhi. It's impossible to replace them. But what we can try is to work as best as we can, following their footsteps. We may not reach that level, but never give up that fight. That is what we have to do now for the modern leadership. They'll have to do that if they want to keep this India one and to make it a true federal structure. We'll have to fight together for that.
All right. Dr. Abdullah, thank you so much for joining us and sharing your thoughts on this day, which certainly means a lot to the people of Tamil Nadu and I think to the people of India. Karunanidhi should not just be looked at as a politician who impacted the political ecosystem of Tamil Nadu by making the kind of choices which he did make, by stitching together alliances which he did stitch, by dealing with completely contrarian political ideologies and often facing a lot of flack for that. Karunanidhi, without doubt, impacted a large section of India's political ecosystem. Let's take a look at his life and times and let's take a short break thereafter.
DMK leader Muthuvel Karunanidhi, a political icon in South India, has left a gaping hole in Tamil Nadu politics with his death at the age of 94. Karunanidhi leaves behind a family steeped in politics right through to the third generation. He's survived by his sons MK Stalin, Alagiri, Muthu and Tamilarasu, and daughters Kanimuri and Selvi. Proof of his political legacy, the crowds of grief-stricken DMK workers at the party headquarters Anna Arivalayam and cries of Kalaignar Varga, long live the artist. Kalaignar, the title lovingly given to Karunanidhi, who was not just a political leader but also a prolific and popular poet. Karunanidhi's advanced age meant that he had been ill for several months before his death. A teary-eyed MK Stalin took over as the working president of the DMK in January last year. But the party will miss Kalaignar's wit and wisdom. His sense of humor was matched by his sense of music and poetry. His professional career began as a scriptwriter, crafting poorer classes hitting back at the status quo-ists. Parasakti, in which actor Sivaji Ganesan brings to life Karunanidhi's evocative lines, it was a massive hit. As a politician, Karunanidhi launched himself as an activist with a mission to restore Dalmiyapuram, named for a cement factory to its original identity as Kallakudi in Trichy district. His success signaled the emergence of the politician in Karunanidhi. When the DMK stormed to power in 1967 on the back of the anti-Hindi agitation, Karunanidhi became a cabinet minister. 2 years later, after the death of Annadurai, he became chief minister in 1969. For much of Karunanidhi's career, he had to contend with a formidable foe, the Sri Lanka-born Malayali M.G. Ramachandran or MGR. MGR's 1950 movie Mantri Kumari captured the hearts of people across Tamil Nadu. In an interesting twist, Karunanidhi had written the screenplay for this super hit film. MGR became a force to reckon with in Karunanidhi's own party. He was so popular that crowds of supporters would leave party meetings immediately after MGR finished speaking, before Karunanidhi and others could even take the mic. After MGR's death in 1987 came Jayalalitha, then an actor who soon became propaganda secretary of the AIADMK, which MGR formed. Karunanidhi and Jayalalitha's rivalry reached new levels. Hate politics that saw midnight arrests, smear campaigns, and fisticuffs in the assembly. That bitterness between the DMK and the AIADMK remains to this day. But Karunanidhi's death The Dravidian era of politics in Tamil Nadu has come to an end. While the DMK is in a far more stable position in terms of political leadership than the AIADMK, Karunanidhi's party will miss his masterful steering and iconic stature in the times ahead. With Purnama Murli in Chennai, Zaka Jacob, CNN News 18.